Let's talk about that phone in your pocket. It's basically your entire life, right? But have you ever really stopped to think about how secure it is? Turns out, the story of your phone's security is this constant, high-stakes race between amazing new technology and, well, the bad guys trying to break it. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that race, all the way from the beginning.
So, yeah, that big question. How secure is this thing, really? The answer has changed. A lot. See, for every security feature that engineers have built, someone out there was already working on a way to get around it. Mobile security wasn't something they just switched on one day. No, it was forged in this constant battle of building something, seeing it get broken, and then building it back even stronger. And to really get where we are today, we've got to go back to where it all began.
So let's start with the first generation, or 1G. I mean, this was the dawn of mobile phones. Absolutely revolutionary stuff. But from a security perspective, oh boy. It was basically like having a super private conversation in the middle of a packed football stadium.
The biggest problem with 1G was just how open it was. Because it all ran on analog signals, there was zero encryption. None. Let that sink in. Anybody with a simple radio scanner could literally just tune into the right frequency and listen to your entire phone call. And if that wasn't scary enough, the network had no way to prove you were actually you. This made it ridiculously easy for crooks to clone your phone's identity and make calls that, you guessed it, you got the bill for.
Okay, so thankfully with 2G, things got a whole lot better. The switch from analog to digital was a total game changer. For the first time ever, thanks to the new GSM standard, our calls were actually being scrambled and secured. But as you'll see, closing one security hole just created a whole new set of, let's say, more complicated problems.
So while 2G was a massive leap forward, it definitely had its own serious flaws. The encryption they used, this thing called A5, was eventually cracked. And get this, the authentication was only one way. The network could check your phone's ID, but your phone had no way of checking the network's ID. You know what that means? You could be connected to a fake cell tower, a man-in-the-middle attack, and have absolutely no idea. But the real ticking time bomb was buried even deeper in the network's core.
And that deeper problem was something called Signaling System Number 7, or SS7 for short. The easiest way to think of SS7 is as the network's air traffic control system. It tells all the calls and messages where to go. The issue was, it was designed back in a time when everyone trusted each other on the network. So the security was, well, it wasn't really there. Attackers figured out they could exploit this trust to do all sorts of nasty stuff, like track your phone's exact location or even reroute your calls and texts, just by sending a few commands to the network itself. All right, next up is the 3G era. This is the moment when our phones stopped just being phones and became what we know them as today, powerful little internet machines. But this amazing new connection to the World Wide Web, it basically threw open the doors to a whole new world of digital threats. The huge shift with 3G was that our phones started speaking the same language as the internet, IP, or Internet Protocol. But by joining the internet party, our phones were suddenly vulnerable to all the same dangers as our computers. The security headaches were no longer just about phone calls. They were about malware, viruses, and even these massive, distributed denial-of-service attacks, which could be used to try and knock entire mobile networks offline. And that brings us to 4G, also known as LTE, which is probably what most of us are using right this minute. With 4G, the transition was complete. Our phones were now on all IP networks. This meant some serious security upgrades, but it also turned our phones into a brand new, very sophisticated digital battlefield. You know, 4G security was really a story of give and take. On the plus side, we finally got much stronger encryption. And, get this, mutual authentication. Our phones could finally check the network's ID, which pretty much slammed the door on that fake cell tower problem from the 2G days. The downside? Being a full-fledged citizen of the internet meant we were now exposed to way more advanced attacks. The new threats had names like IP spoofing and session hijacking, basically clever ways for hackers to impersonate you and take over your online accounts.
So, when you just take a step back and look at the big picture, you see this really clear progression, right? It all started with simple eavesdropping and cloning back in the 1G days. That evolved into hacking the actual network with 2G. Then 3G opened the floodgates for internet malware. And with 4G, we're fighting these complex digital identity attacks. With every new generation of tech, the threats got a whole lot smarter.
This whole journey really proves one thing. For every problem we solve, a brand new one seems to pop up. And that relentless cycle brings us to the really big question.
As we start moving into a world of 5G, with everything from our cars to our coffee makers being connected, what kind of security challenges are lurking just around the corner? What's the next chapter in this fight going to look like?